Okay, good morning everyone. Welcome, happy Monday. My name is Nick Laboda and I am with Respondus. And today I have the pleasure of sharing with you a few different of our applications. The first one I'd like to share with you is called Respondus 4.0. This is a quiz authoring tool that you can use to build quizzes, assessments, surveys, to then be published either into your Blackboard course, or if you're going to be using Canvas, you can also publish them into a Canvas course as well. Once I get through covering the quiz authoring tool, I'd like to take you in and show you how to provide security on that assessment in either of those learning management systems. What we'll do is we'll talk about LockDown browser, how we can prevent cheating on the device that students are using, and then we'll talk about Respondus Monitor, which is a webcam component that also prevents cheating from home as well. Okay, so why don't we get started and we'll show you Respondus 4.0. If you have questions along the way, I should mention there is a go-to control panel area on the right of your screen. Some of you have found the chat window, so if you have questions along the way, feel free to chat those in there. And once I get through what I need to cover, I promise to read them aloud, answer them the best of my ability, and then if we have time, I'll be more than happy to unmute you so you can verbally ask whatever questions are left. Okay, without further ado, let's jump in and get started. So I had mentioned just a few moments ago, Respondus 4.0 is a quiz authoring tool. It's been around since 2000, so in pretty much dinosaur years in the educational technology space. And this application can do a lot of different things. Really, it can make your life much more efficient and quicker in terms of creating assessments. When you use Respondus, when you launch it for the first time, you will always start in the Start tab. And you'll see that there are 5 tabs across the top. We have an Edit tab, a Settings tab, Preview, Publish, and then Retrieval and Reports. And Respondus basically works in this sequential order to make it a lot easier to navigate through the application. Now we're going to focus a lot on the Start tab right now because there are a lot of different options available to you. The first thing you want to do is choose the LMS that you're planning to use to publish the quiz into. As you can see, I have it set for Blackboard. But if you use, obviously, Desire to Learn or Canvas, you would just simply select the application or the LMS, and then everything you create in here will then reflect the learning management system that you're planning to publish into. Okay? So let's just go to Blackboard for today. Now, as I had mentioned, there's a number of options. You can either open an existing Respondus file. So maybe you've already created a quiz and you want to add some additional test questions to it. You could do that from here. You can also create your own file from scratch. So if you want to build an exam from the ground up, you could do that here as well. Now, personally, I feel the most powerful feature of Respondus is the test bank network, as well as the import wizard. Now, the import wizard allows you to import Word files, Word docx files, rich text, plain text files that can then be delivered directly into your online course. So if you teach face-to-face testing and you have all these different types of quizzes and assessments and maybe a Word file format, you can then easily import that file into Respondus to be published into that course. So let's just show you how easy this feature is. And the nice thing is you're already taking pre-existing content that you can then repurpose in, maybe you're teaching the same online course as you are face-to-face. So this really would make your life easier to use that same assessment. So when you click on the import wizard, you'll see that there are some options available. But the very first thing you want to do is click on the Help button. Now, the Help button will give you a link to the standard format for importing documents. Now, Respondus needs to recognize the file that you're trying to import before it can import it in successfully. So as you scan through this file, it will tell you exactly how to format your offline file and every single question type that is supported. So you can see right now we're talking about multiple choice questions. As I go down through the list, you'll also see for true, false, essay, fill in the blank, etc. Now, this is a very, very easy process to set up. So let me just point out some of the basics of what Respondus is asking you to do. The first thing is it wants to make sure that every single question that you plan to import in has either a number in a parentheses or numbered in a period. Respondus is able to recognize the number of questions by adding a number and these two pieces on the end here. Now your answer choices are represented by letters. That's how Respondus knows that it's an answer choice versus a question. And the answer choices represented by letters can follow the same sequence. Either it's a period after the letter or parentheses as well. Now, the correct answer to that question could be done one of two ways. You can either put an asterisk next to the correct answer, or you can simply create a list of correct answers at the very end of the file. So if you have a very long document and you don't want to go through each question and add a correct answer, then that's okay. Just simply add a file at the very end, and it shows you the format here, and then you should be all set. Now, I find instructors probably access this page maybe once or twice, because once you understand the format that Respondus is asking for, it's a very, very easy format to do in that file. So let me show you an example of an assessment that I plan to import. So here's a quiz I created, and what I'd like to do is show you the level of sophistication of what Respondus can do. So with this geometry quiz, I have a bunch of different advanced formatting that I've included. You can see I have some basic formatting up here. Here's my number. Here's my question wording. Here's some bold. I also have my answer choices represented by equations. I have images in question number 2. I have a table down here at the bottom. And you'll see as I go along the way that I do have the correct answer applied to each answer choice. Again, question number 4, I have another image. And then once I get down towards the bottom, you'll see there's some additional question types. Question number 5 is a true-false question. The answers can either be represented by the letter T or F, or you can spell out true or false. The number 6 represents an essay question. So by writing the word type :E, Respondus knows that this is an essay question. And that way it knows it's not looking for an answer choice because the answer is subjective. It's whatever the student writes. So all you need to do is write the question, and then obviously within your LMS, the student could then write the answer in an essay format. Now the very last question I put here is a fill-in-the-blank question. Now Respondus recognizes fill-in-the-blank by typing in the word type :F. And you'll see here's the space and then the rest of the question. But you'll notice the answer choices are represented in the same format but multiple ways. So with fill-in-the-blank, it's not actually the incorrect answer that you're putting down below. It's variations of a correct answer that you would find acceptable. So for example, for number 7, the absolute correct answer would be the name with the accent above the E. But maybe a student doesn't know how to do an accent. Maybe they're not really comfortable on their keyboard on how to do that. So you would also find acceptable the name of the person without the accent. Maybe you would find acceptable just the last name, or maybe even incorrect spellings of that name. This is a French name, so maybe phonetically you're okay with the student spelling it as best they can. So basically, like I'm saying, these are just variations of what you find acceptable as correct answers. Now at the very end, this is the list of correct answers that I created. So instead of, again, putting those asterisks, here's just that file that represents every single correct answer. And again, you'll see number 7 has all those variations of the correct answer that I find acceptable. So now I'm ready to import. So when I go to the import wizard, I'm going to identify the file that I'm going to import, which happens to be a docx file. I browse the file on my computer. So I'm going to go to my webinar file. Let me just go there. The very bottom. There's that geometry quiz. I open it. I give it a name. I'm just going to give it today's date for the sake of time. When I preview this, Respondus is going to look at that file to make sure everything was formatted properly. And if it was, you'll see this message that says no warnings. And if there was an issue, Respondus would tell you the exact issue and where to go to fix it. So that way you can go back to the file, make the correction, save the correction, and then go through these 2 steps one more time, or excuse me, 4 steps. But everything is good. I hit finish. It'll now save the file. You notice that it will move us over into the Edit tab up here at the top. We now have moved. If I go to Expanded View to the lower right-hand corner, you can now see the import that I just brought in to Respondus. And you can see exactly how it looked in that Word format. It looks exactly the same in Respondus. Okay? So you can see how quick and easy that process can be. Now, before I move any further, let me backtrack one more time. And let me talk about this test bank network. Now, if you're an instructor that likes to use test banks, you're probably familiar that they come in a lot of different formats. They come either in exam view format, maybe they come in some type of CD format. It could be any different number of files. So what we've done is we've partnered with a lot of different publishers in higher ed and said, listen, we have a lot of customers, you have a lot of customers, how can we take your test banks and put them in a format that works for our application? So we basically just partnered with them to be able to do that. So by clicking on the test bank network, this will allow you to search for a test bank on our network. So by clicking next, this will take you directly to the test bank network on our website. And then you could either search for the textbook title, the author last name, you could do a keyword search, a number of different ways to find this. So personally, I like to look for the file based on the author last name. It's just a much quicker, easier way because there's, I don't even know how many thousands and thousands of test banks that are in here. And then you just simply identify the book you've adopted. So let's just say this Biology, Unity, and Diversity of Life, 11th edition, is my textbook. And you can see there's many different variations of the textbook with different editions. And if you've identified this is the right one, you click on More Information, and then just simply fill out your contact info. And then once you fill out your contact info, when you hit Submit at the very bottom, this will go directly to the publisher. And what they'll do is send you an email back, and this could take anywhere between 5 to 7 business days. So if you need it right away, make sure you a little bit of time there so they can get this to you, because every publisher is a little different. And then what you would see is an email that looks very similar to this. Now I've highlighted in yellow just the information that is really relevant to the test bank in our application. And you can see I've highlighted the title, but then more importantly I've highlighted this file code and password, because quite honestly that's really all you need from this email. And this again will come directly from your publisher. And the reason it's coming from your publisher is because they want to verify A, that you've adopted their textbook. They don't want to give you a bunch of freebies if you haven't bought their book. And B, that you're not a student asking for a file. So they also want to verify that as well. So now that I have this file code and password, I go back to Respondus and I just register it within the application. So now it's just a simple copy paste. I'll just go back to that email and copy the file code and dump it here. I'll do the same thing with a password, and then I'll just simply enter my email institution, my name, institution, and email address. And then click Link to Test Bank. Now the reason I'm not doing this right now is because I have this test bank in here and I don't want to have multiple copies of it, so let's just pretend I've actually typed in this info. When I hit Link to Test Bank, you will now see it is available for use down here. So now I can start building a quiz based on that test bank. Now you'll see I can either create a new quiz or I can use the import that I've already opened. So let's just use that import. And now I can start building from different chapters. So if I choose the test bank, and now I can choose whatever chapter I want to use. This test bank in particular has 25 chapters. So if I wanted to do, let's just say, a chapter 7 quiz, I can do that here. And what this will show me is all of the question types that are available in this one specific chapter. Now what it will do once it's done loading is show me, I think, the first 12 items on the page. You can see the item wording over on the right here. And then down at the very bottom you see that there's 114 questions to pull from. So this really gives you a lot of information to create a very, very quick and easy quiz. Now you could do this one of two ways. You can either manually go through and read each and every one of these. Maybe you're very specific of what type of question that you want to use on the exam. So you could do it that way. Maybe you want to read through a few of these and say, well, I really like this question here. I'm going to add that to the exam. And maybe I like this one down here as well. So maybe I just want to grab those two because I really like those questions. So all I need to do is add those to my list. Now let's just say for the rest of the exam, you don't care in particular exactly the questions that get pulled, so maybe you want to do an automatic selection. So instead of manually reading through 114 items, which could take a long period of time, you could switch it from manual here over to automatic. And what this will do is show you all the different question types that are available in that particular let me just switch it back over one more time. Here we go, automatic. And this will show you how many multiple choice questions are left. You can see there's 80 left. There's no true false essay, but there's 30 short answer essay questions. And there's one matching. So maybe you want to grab, let's just say you want to grab 30 multiple choice questions and you want to give them 1 point each. And maybe you want to grab 10 essay short answer and then give them 5 points each. When you click Add to End of List again, it's going to copy all those items over, and then it's going to add those to the import that we created just a few moments ago. So in just a moment, what you'll see is all of these items being cycled right back into Respondus. And you can see they're preparing the copy right now. And then at the very top, it'll tell you how many items have been successfully copied. So we'll have the 2 manual ones that we selected, but then you'll also see all the other questions that were automatically generated as well. So Respondus seems to be a little slow today. Obviously it's a Monday, so maybe it had a long weekend and it's just still tired, but I know it's going through the process. So let me just go ahead. Here they are. It did go through. I hit finish. Again, we're back to the Edit tab now. Now when I click Expanded View, here are all those Publisher Test Bank items I just added. So you can see all of them down at the very bottom. And now that they're here, I can either preview them. Here's the question, how it's going to look in Blackboard. I could also edit them if I want to change them around. Maybe I want to delete a few that I didn't like. Whatever you want to do with these questions, they're now in Respondus for you to manipulate and change. Okay? Or you can leave them alone. It's up to you. So now I'm ready to move on. Now, since we're in the Edit tab, you'll see on the left-hand side that there are many different question templates that you can also use to manually build questions. Now, all these question types are native to Blackboard. Now, if I was actually using Canvas right now, all the question types on this margin would now be Canvas question types. Again, Respondus will work and mirror the LMS that you're using. So all the different question types that are available, all the settings, they'll be exactly the same. Up at the top here, you can also add advanced formatting. Maybe you want to bold, italics, or underline some questions or words. Maybe you want to add subscript or superscript. Maybe you want to add equations. So maybe you teach math or science and you want to add some equations. For example, if you wanted to build a quick equation here, all you do is build what you would like, exit out, hit OK, and now your equation will show up. And if I preview this, you can see that's exactly how that's going to look. If you wanted to add any type of media or HTML, you can either grab media from your computer, and these are all the different file types that are supported, all the image types, audio, video, etc. Or you can grab media from the web. And all you have to do is simply enter the URL address to be displayed in this area. And then when you hit finish, that will also create another link that will take you directly to that image, to that video, to that audio, wherever you want to link that page to. And then once you've created or doctored up the question that you've designed here, you could simply add it to the list, and it'll go right down back to the bottom of the list of the questions that we just pulled in. All right, so let's go to the settings. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because if you're familiar with Blackboard, the settings in Respondus mirror the settings in Blackboard. So if you wanted to apply random blocks, you can easily go ahead and set a random block of questions using Respondus. If you want to set your availability settings, when you want the exam to be allowed for students to view, if you want to allow multiple attempts or include forced completion or whatever you would like to add here, time limits. Your other settings for the self-assessment area, the feedback options, as well as question presentation. All of this can be done here. Or it could be done in Blackboard, or again, it can be done in Canvas. Once this quiz gets into the LMS, you can do whatever you want with it once it's there. And now, preview and publish. If you want to preview your file quick, just to make sure all the questions that you've created look exactly and feel how you want them to. You can also print these. So if you still teach face-to-face, and you want to have a hard copy backup just in case maybe the LMS goes down, or you just like to have that backup for face-to-face testing if the student's not able to take it online, you could either print the exam on its own with the answer key, and then you can also apply many different various random variations of this assessment. So that way, if you are doing face-to-face testing with students sitting next to each other and they look on each other's papers, at least you can make sure that they're not looking at the same questions nor answer choices within those questions. And then you can also save the file. Maybe you want to come back to it later, or you could just send it right to the printer to be printed out. All right, the last piece is to publish this into your LMS. So there's a one-time setup here to be able to do the publish process. Now, I'm not going to go through this piece for the sake of time, but it is a very simple, easy process, and I can show you exactly on our website where there's a video to explain how to set this up. But once you've done that, all you need to do is decide where do you want to publish this exam to. So maybe you teach multiple courses, which you can see I teach multiple courses here. I'm going to publish this into my English course. I already have the name of the assessment, so I don't need to create that again. If I need to change it, I could do that here. And then I could go to Next, and then decide exactly where do I want to publish it. So what I'd like to do is publish it right into my content area. And by hitting Next, Respondus will now publish that assessment directly into that course. So you'll actually see here, it'll start to explain in detail exactly what it's doing. You know, it's applying the settings, it's been completed successfully. When I hit Finish, I go into Blackboard, I log in as an instructor, I go into that course that I teach, and now when I go to the content area, I should see that quiz. I think it should be at the very bottom. Yep, here it is at 12-12-16. When I click on it and begin, here it is. You can see just how fast that was to generate the quiz. And you know, there's the import. If I continue to go down, you'll be able to see all those publisher test bank items that I created now as well. All right, so that's Respondus. Now, the last tab that I'll share with you is called Retrieval and Reports. Now, let's say that you're leaving Blackboard and going to Canvas. Now, you get all these wonderful quizzes in Blackboard. Now you have to get them out somehow. You can click on Retrieve Questions and then do the absolute reverse of what we just did with the published process. So instead of publishing into your course, you would simply go to that course and then decide you want to retrieve an exam, you want to retrieve a survey, do you have a pool of questions you want to pull out. Depends on where you want to grab it. So let's just say I want to grab this Advanced Biology 14 quiz. And I want to call it, I'm just going to call it my name today, so we can find it quicker. I'll hit Next. It's now going to pull that quiz directly out of Blackboard, and it will tell you how very quick and easy it was. When I hit Cancel here, or Finish, I should say, I go back to my Start tab. I open up my folder, and we scroll down a little bit. There it is. There's my Nick Laboda quiz. So now, if I wanted to open this up and publish it into Canvas, I can easily do that. All right, so that's a nice migration tool that I find a lot of schools will use to easily get content back and forth between systems. All right, so we have a quiz in Blackboard now. Now we need security. So now you created the quiz that you want. Now we want to provide the security so students aren't able to manipulate that quiz and look up answers. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to log back in here as an instructor. Now our security piece, our proctoring piece, I should say, is called LockDown Browser and Respondus Monitor. So what we offer is a dual-part solution. So instructors go into their course. Now, when you go under Course Tools over on the left-hand margin of your screen, you should see a Respondus LockDown Browser dashboard. By clicking on this link, it'll open up a dashboard to display every quiz that's in this particular course. You'll see all my quizzes on the left. You'll see there's a LockDown Browser column on the right, and then you'll see there's a Monitor Webcam column to the right of that. So we have a browser. So if you've used browsers before, you've taught online, everybody's probably used Firefox or Chrome or Safari or Internet Explorer. Well, we have one too. It's just called LockDown Browser. Now when students use our browser, they're not able to cheat on the assessment in Blackboard or Canvas. So our browser is basically used to lock down that area. But then there's the monitor piece, which uses their webcam to record them while they're taking an assessment from home. Because if we can prevent students from cheating on their computer, well, that's great. But if they're at home, how can we prevent them from using other devices to look up answers? Because if there's no one there to watch them, well, we need to have eyeballs on them somehow. And that's where that webcam piece comes in. So when you're looking at applying the security, you simply select the quiz. So let's look at this one here. Hit the drop-down menu. You hit Modify Settings. I'm just going to scroll up a little bit. The only option is to require the browser, so hit Require. And then you'll see that there's some password optional settings. So if you wanted to implement a password here, then students would simply have to type in that password before they get to the quiz. This is very similar to Blackboard's native password if you've ever used it before. It's just basically one more layer of security you're putting in place before the assessment. There are some advanced settings below. You can lock students into the exam. We have an iPad solution. All you need to do is check a box, and students can use an iPad. We also have accessibility to allow students to use screen readers. And then we also have many different options for calculators as well. Okay. Now, below that, well, let's just stop 1 second. Let's just say I needed just LockDown browser. So if you're doing that on-the-ground testing, and I know Blackboard would be used for that specific purpose, you really don't need monitor. You don't need a webcam watching students if you have a proctor in the room facilitating, making sure students are staying on task. Because the LockDown browser, again, is keeping students honest and preventing them from opening up other windows or tabs or being able to manipulate that machine to look up information. So that way when the proctor turns their back and they walk around the room, they feel rest assured that students are not able to cheat on that assessment because they're not able to use the machine other than to take the exam. They can't look up answers. They're not able to surf the web. They are truly locked in. However, if you're teaching a fully online course, well, you want those eyes on the student. So you would apply the monitor webcam settings below. So the first option is you could turn on monitor for everybody. And now the very first time you use this little dialog box pops up and it simply gives you a little bit more explanation of what this thing is. So maybe you're not familiar with it and you're not really sure who to contact and how to use this tool. This is just simply a dialog box to explain where to go, and it gives you some resources to help you get started. So I don't need to see this message again, so I'm just going to exit out. And now you can either turn it on for everybody. So if you teach a fully online course, you want to make sure all your students use this. Well, this would be the option you select. Or you can give students a choice. You can say, listen, you can either use monitor and stay at home, or you can come on campus and just do LockDown browser testing in our proctored lab. So you have an option. We're not forcing you to use one tool versus the other. You can either use the monitor, stay at home, or you can use the LockDown browser on its own, and I'll proctor you. So you have two options there. But realistically, if you're teaching a fully online course, your students are not coming on campus, then this would be the option you would use. And this is what I'm going to use for today. Now, before a student can get to your exam, they need to go through this startup sequence because we want to make sure that if they are using a webcam, that they have a working webcam. And we want to make sure that the video and audio of that webcam work. And then we want to make sure it's the right student. You know, we want to make sure it's not Sally taking the exam for Bob. So we want to make sure Bob's the person taking the assessment. So he'll take a photo of himself and then take a photo of some form of identification. And then we want to make sure that their testing environment, wherever that may be, their bedroom, their office, their kitchen, dining room, wherever, does not have any external resources out that they can use to cheat. And then additional instructions, just anything else you want to tell your students. Maybe you just want to remind them to not communicate with others. Maybe you want them to stay seated, don't get up and move around. Whatever it may be, you can explain exactly how your expectation for this exam session right here, so they can read it right before they take the exam. So anywhere you see edit text here, you can be very specific of what you want students to do. Okay, so if you wanted them to show their entire room with the webcam, you can do that. If you're not really sure what to tell students, we automatically put some pre-scripted language in here to help you out. So you can either use what we have or take it out and put your own in, or maybe just add to what we have. It's really up to you. But we add information here really to kind of help you get started and guide you along the way. So now when I hit save and close, when I look at this exam now, you'll see that the week 1 quiz has webcam in parentheses, and both columns are required in green. So I have the LockDown browser and the monitor tool enabled. So I'm an instructor. I turned on security. I'm done. I don't need to do anything else. Now what students need to do is take that exam using our browser. So they have to use our browser to get the exam. They're not able to use any other browser because any other browser will not work when those settings are turned on. So when students click on this browser, it's going to take them directly to your Blackboard site or your Canvas site, wherever you want to point them to. And then the student will just simply log into your LMS and then walk through those steps to get to the quiz. So we know that that quiz is in that geography course. I know that it's in the content area, which is where it needs to be. And that week 1 quiz is right here. So I'm going to click on that. I'm ready to start. I'll hit begin. And now I'm ready to go through that startup sequence, which you can see those same 7 steps that we just talked about in the dashboard. All right, so the first part is a simple terms of use, which simply students will hit agree. And then we'll do a webcam check. Hey everyone, this is me. What I'm going to do is record a 5-second video, and this will do both a video and audio check to confirm that my webcam works. And then once it plays the video back to me, it will discard it and allow me to go on to the next step if everything's working properly. It looks good. It sounds good. I'm able to continue. So now I'm ready to take a photo. Simply hit take picture. All right, I'm happy with that. We'll hit continue. I'm going to use my student ID card here. So I'm just going to flash my student ID card so you can see my name and face. So we're going to hit continue there. I'm going to show you my testing environment. So my instructor wants me to make sure that my computer area is free of papers, notes, books, phones, etc. So I'm going to show you that it is by using my webcam. I'm going to show you my testing area. Here's my desktop. Here's my computer screen where I'm doing the demo. Here's my computer keyboard. Here's my mouse. Nothing to the right of me. There's nothing to the left of me other than, or excuse me, the right of me other than snow. I live in upstate New York and it's snowing like crazy. So I'm going to stop the recording. And this is going to do exactly what the webcam check did. It's going to play the video back to the student. Maybe they need to review it, make sure that they followed instructions properly. Maybe they were sloppy the first time. Maybe they need to do it a little bit more smoothly the next time. It allows them to be able to review that if necessary. And it takes usually a few seconds to prepare the video. And sometimes I have network issues depending on the time of day and where I'm at, but that's not uncommon for me. But the good thing is you'll see the video still preparing. Hasn't stopped. It's still going through the motions. So you'll see in just a moment, it's going to play that video back. There will be no interruption. I can promise you that. This is something that's unique to my computer, by the way. So if I even just fast forward to some of these spots, you can see everything that I did was captured. Okay. I hit continue, and then these are the additional instructions. So basically, these are all the things I told students that they shouldn't get up. They should stay seated, don't move up, don't move around. Focus on the exam until it's complete, and then you can get up and move around once you've submitted the assessment. So now I can hit begin. So now in just a moment, I will be in a Blackboard exam. So give it just a moment. Looks like it's stuck on the additional instructions. So let me just give it 1 second. Again, like I said, we're having a really nice little snowstorm. So give it a second. And if it takes longer than 5 more seconds, I'm just going to exit out. Now the reason I can exit out if this happens is because I haven't launched the exam yet. So I can go ahead and do that. And if I do, I can actually go back through and take that assessment or go through those steps again. So I haven't actually started the exam yet. So I'm just going to go back in. I'm not going to go through that startup sequence again because you just saw exactly how that works. Really what I want to show you now is just what that LockDown browser exam looks like. So I'm just going to go in a different course. I'm going to go to the content area, still going through the same steps as before. Let me go into my week 1 folder, see if there's any quizzes in here. Here's one that just has LockDown browser, okay? Actually, there's one down here too. So let me look at this one. Now let's just pretend we went through that startup sequence before. Now when I get into the assessment, I'm in a Blackboard exam. I'm now locked in. I'm not able to navigate any further within Blackboard. There's no URL address field up here. There's no minimize, maximize buttons. I can't even close out of this browser. I'm truly locked in. My right-click menu doesn't work. Alt-tabbing doesn't work. Function print screen, dual monitors are blocked. VMware shut down. Whatever you can envision, the browser is preventing cheating on this machine right here. All I'm able to do is simply take this quiz, and now if the monitor tool was still running, the webcam would be recording my entire testing session this entire time. So I'm just going through this assessment. You can see I have some hyperlinks if I wanted to use those. I also have a word editor down here at the bottom if I need to type in any type of answer. When I go ahead and submit this, before I do so, I just want to point out that calculator. You know, I did go through the effort of turning one on, so I at least want to show you what it looks like. This is a scientific calculator. If you look at half of this, this would be your standard calculator. So that way you can see the differences between the two. All right, I'm going to submit it. This now goes to your gradebook in Blackboard. So now that it's there, I can exit out. And everything goes back to normal. So my computer goes right back to where it was a few moments ago. Now the last thing I want to show you is, well, what gets captured? You know, if the student used monitor, then what do I get to see after that? So if I come back to this dashboard, from this drop-down menu now, there's a video review option available. And this will show you all your students that took the assessment using monitor. You'll see their name, the date, the time, how long it took them, their grade. And then we have these flagging components built in to detect if any type of suspicious activity occurred. Okay? So we have facial detection percentage, we have flagging of suspicious activity, and then how long that activity actually had gone on. So what I like to do to make this process easy is to click on the flags column, and then simply look at the number of flags and work my way down. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that cheating occurred, but it definitely gives you a guide to see if something might have happened during this exam session. So if I click on Jane Smith here, I can see this entire exam session. And I also get to see all these thumbnails that point out if any type of activity occurred. And you can see at the 5:50 mark there's suspicious activity, also at the 7:30 mark and the 10:50 mark. But also underneath this big video player, you will notice that there are specific flag segments and warnings, and we timestamp these. So you can see for 18 seconds that there's multiple people in the frame of the webcam. Okay? So there they are. There's two people there, the original student and somebody else. And you can see this happen a couple times at the 6:14 mark. And then at the 7:02 mark, well, for 15 seconds, somebody different came into the frame of the webcam. So now it's no longer the original student. And this happened a couple different times as well. And then at the 10:51 mark, for 28 seconds, they went missing. For where they went, who knows? But I told them to stay seated, don't get up and move around, and obviously they didn't follow directions. Now, based on this information, I could decide, what do I need to do? Do I need to speak to the student? Does this constitute cheating? It's really up to you to decide what our next step would be. But the nice thing is we keep all this here for you to be able to review if necessary. And up here at the top, that startup sequence I spoke about, this student's photo is here. Oh, she came back. There she is. Here's her ID card. And again, if I wanted to look at her environment video, obviously I saw things I didn't like. But if I wanted to go any further and just take a look at her environment, clearly she's showing me her kitchen where she's taking the exam, which is not unusual. And I can see there's nothing suspicious so far. I see there's her computer area, there's her tabletop. However, when I get a little further, I do see a notepad with paper there, which again, was not acceptable because I told the student they shouldn't have that out. All right, so now do I really need to look at everybody? Probably not, because if I go down and look at Kelly Smith here, I do not see anything that looks suspicious with Kelly. This is exactly what you want to see, not a lot of movement. You want to see just the student staying static, looking at their screen. This happens a number of different times. So honestly, do you need to go any further? Probably not. It's really up to you, but this is what you want to see in terms of, you know, we're deterring cheating. We're trying to prevent them from considering this in the first place. And this is truly how this tool is used. All right, the last thing I'll share with you is how to get started, where to go. Before I do that, I did promise Berta that I would show you how does this look in Canvas. The good thing is that dashboard I showed you, all those steps I showed you will be exactly the same. The only difference in Canvas is where you find the dashboard. In Blackboard, it's under Course Tools. In Canvas, it's just simply in your menu bar over in the lower left-hand corner. And when I click on that dashboard, I will prove to you that it looks exactly the same. The settings are the same. The drop-down menu is the same. Every single thing that we just did is identical. So the nice thing is no matter what LMS you use, this will be what it will look like. Okay? Now, just to go forward, if you go to Respondus.com, you can see our website up here. Click on LockDown Browser. So if you're just going to use LockDown Browser, well, we have some tools over in the left-hand margin that you can use. We have some videos. If you just want to see really quick, how did I go through those steps? How did I set up that dashboard? You can do that right here. This is just a quick 2 or 3 minute video to show exactly what to do. We have training webinars every single month. We just added these last week. These are free. These are trainings. These are not marketing webinars. You can join at no cost, and we'll train you if you need additional training for free. We also have resources. We have a sample course syllabus that you can use. We have tips on how to turn on the browser. We have quick start guides. How do we use these quick start guides? This tells you what it is, how it works, and it even provides screenshots to help you along the way. All of these tools, we even have them for students as well. So if students would like to review them, they are there, and you can also print these out if you want to. So everything you need you can find here. And the same applies if you go to Monitor. The nice thing is we have the same type of webinars, the same trainings. We also have the similar resources, different videos obviously, a little bit more robust sample course syllabus because now you're using a webcam. You want to give students a little bit more guidance with a webcam piece. Why a practice exam is important, and all these different things that will help you get started. And if you need something beyond what's not here, you know, Berta or Dee or somebody can let me know, and I'd be more than happy to, you know, within my realm to be able to pull those resources together with you. Okay, so that concludes today's demonstration. I'm going to simply stop the recording and see if there's any questions that we